die jetzt dazugekommen sind. Wir zeigen noch mal kurz das Chart, was jetzt auf Sie zukommen wird. Die nächste Runde hier, moderiert von meinem Kollegen Alain Heureux, Präsident IAV Europe. Alain, your exciting, your absolutely unbelievable applause. Here he comes. Very welcome. And here's a surprise, the next session will be in French. No.
No, not really. I thought about talking French, but the German is certainly not as good as my colleague here. But English...
Je ne parle pas français, pardon.
So we'll try to do it in English. Hopefully that's okay for everybody. And we have an interesting debate talking about performance.
Okay, I think it's your time now until 4:45.
When they throw me out.
Yeah, that's a good audience. Don't relax. You have all these voting tools, you know how it works.
Yeah.
Ich wünsche Ihnen viel Vergnügen jetzt, because you're going to introduce your guests by yourself, and we're very proud to have a president as a presenter. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Viel Spaß mit Alain Heureux, meine Damen und Herren.
So, before announcing my dear panel guests, just a little word about this IAB. IAB is the Trade Association for Digital Marketing, so it's very much about what we're talking in all DMEXCO. It's talking about digital and interactive marketing. We have created all over Europe national trade associations. In Germany, it is more known as OVK, part of the BVDW organization. They are representing IAB in Germany, and I am representing the European IAB. Our focus in IAB Europe is very much on legal. We are dealing with an interesting challenge in which I would invite all of you to join me, and that is privacy, data protection, and all the hurdles we see in Brussels and Berlin, because our industry is growing rapidly from year to year. And I think we have an interesting challenge, and I can only hope that each of you as company, as experts, as professionals, can join us into defending this important challenge that is a legal challenge for the upcoming years. But let's start now. A debate dealing with performance. Performance is an interesting part of our ecosystem of digital marketing, and I'm really honored and pleased that we have 4 great experts. They will present themselves. I will be brief by introducing them because they will sit down and they will present themselves at the end when everybody is on stage. The first one I would like to call is Philippe from Zanox, with a warm applause for Philippe. Choose your seat, Philippe. Another Philippe, we go from Philippe from Zanox to Philippe from Specific Media. Warm applause. We follow up by Pascarl from Criteo. Big support is in the room. And we finish up with Rajeev from PubMatic. I will try to animate a little bit the debate, that's part of the game, but I trust you as an audience will help me to that. Coming up with questions, I will ask you a couple of questions that you will be able to vote with. You have these beautiful machines, the voting machines. We will have 2 questions that we will request an answer from you. But in the meantime, make sure that at any time of the debate, when you have a question to one of these gentlemen, that's why we are here. It's an interactive session, so please make it interactive. The first question I would certainly request an answer from each of them is to explain a little bit what they stand for, because performance is an important part of the revenues of digital marketing, but we have different ways to make performance marketing. And I've heard from one company, originally Zanox was more known as an affiliate company, affiliate marketing, but they have made their way as well through other disciplines. And I would certainly ask as the first guest in the panel, Philippe, to present himself. What is your role in Zanox, and what is Zanox offering as service, and also how do you feel, what performance means to all these gentlemen in the room?
Thanks very much, Alain. So, my name is Philippe Justus and I'm the CEO of Zanox. We're a performance advertising network. And rather than telling you in technical detail what we do, I thought I'd tell you what our customers are looking for when they work with a company like ours. So usually they're looking for 4 things. The first thing they're looking for is to boost sales in their online store. All of our clients are online companies, are e-commerce companies, and they want to sell more. Ideally, they want to sell more right now. So it's very much a direct response request and requirement that they have of us. The second objective that clients have when they come to work with us is they want to have full transparency about all the metrics in the advertising channel. So they want to know exactly what advertisement leads to what result and ultimately to what sale. The third objective they have is they want to have maximum ROI. So every marketing dollar or euro they spend should get the best return on it. And then finally, they'd like to do it without having any risk. So what do I mean without any risk? Really what they would like to do is they would only like to have to pay if they actually sell something in their store. And so if you have those kind of advertiser requests, oftentimes they come to us and try to work with us, because what we offer is exactly a platform to do these four things. It's to sell more, to get full transparency, high ROI, and only pay when you make a sale. So as we like to say within Zanox, branding is great, but performance is better.
Okay. Do you appreciate this explanation of Zanox and of what performance marketing is? The second one that I would also kindly request to answer the same question, what is your company doing and what you think performance marketing is about? I would just jump from Philippe, not directly into Philippe, but I would move to Pascarl. Pascarl is representing Criteo, and Criteo, when you look up on the web and when you're a bit familiar with our disciplines, you can read a lot about retargeting. Now explain us why retargeting answers to the same maybe criteria as Zanox was underlining, or is it different in your company?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
So, thank you for the warm welcome, by the way.
Yeah, you get great support there.
Yeah. I make sure they had a great entrance.
Criteo.
Yes. It was all fake. So I would say exactly the same as Philippe, which is, I think, part of the debates. We all about performance for the advertiser, the way they want it, without risk, with the right metrics of success, etc., etc. So we deliver a product that's called personalized retargeting, and it's product recommendation into ad banners. And what we're trying to achieve is a result just like search. So when our advertisers buy from us, we want them to experience exactly what they experience with search in terms of click-through, conversion, overall results, the way they do it through a bidding platform, the way they handle their search through the same tools. And I think that this is core in our DNA, and this is probably how we would define performance for our company. Very narrow, which is click, conversion plus click, working just like search. We come from the principle that Google should be here to talk about performance. Because I think that 70 cents out of each dollar that is being spent online is being spent on Google, mostly on search, cost per click model, convert, cost click, etc., etc. And so I think that they are defining our space when it comes to performance. And then there are many more things to say about performance, but I think that will be for the debates.
Okay, so we move from the Zanox experience to Criteo. We have a third gentleman that is representing an interesting company, recently very much in the press, because specific media, I think, was already well known about targeting in general, behavioral targeting, contextual targeting, geographical targeting. And very interestingly, a couple of months ago, they decided to acquire a company that we all know quite well. It was MySpace. So what is MySpace doing in all that environment, being specific media? I'm sure Philippe will be able to explain this, so up to you.
Thank you, we at Specific Media, we have in our DNA the notion of audience targeting, behavioral targeting, and overall delivering the right message and the right content to what we think is the right audience. So there's a lot of analytics, there's a lot of trying to understand what people actually want, what people actually pay attention to. And it's true that this business, which has two offices in Germany, Düsseldorf and Munich, this business started with a display network, and we moved into the video network where we expand very rapidly. And the press talked a lot also at the end of last year about the acquisition of BBE. BBE is a very interesting company because it's the leading video network in the US, but it's also the most important ad server, video ad server in the US, and it's a fabulous original programming organization producing content. And I'm heading to MySpace now because one of the things we realized is that the future of our business, the future of consumer influence is also to bring the right content to people and to showcase what the brands want to show also to consumers. And MySpace is very interesting development in all that. It's a fantastic destination. It's a fantastic vertical social network dedicated to music. It's a hub for talent, for music, for arts, and we thought that was a perfect complement to our strategy, which is in 3 words: producing, delivering, and monetizing content. So that's about the strategy of the company. Now, when it comes to performance and to, I would say, the effectiveness of advertising, we have a pretty humble approach of that. We think we are in the business of influencing consumers or trying to influence them. And this encompasses, we believe, 4 key pillars. The first one is that we think that effective advertising is about building as large and as effective a purchase funnel as possible. And by purchase, I also mean different type of action. It's not only buying something, it can be registering, it can be doing the action that the advertiser anticipates. So the first thing is building as wide as possible a funnel and as effective or efficient as possible a conversion funnel. And you're following me, it means that it's not only about the lower funnel action, the conversion, the last click mantra, but it's also about fueling this funnel with the right audience, the right people. So we like to think that we try to add value on this entire chain. That's the first point. The second point is that we believe very, very strongly that effective advertising is about A, targeting the right audience. B, it's about delivering the right frequency for cost effectiveness purposes. The third point is about being accountable, trying to track. There are many ways to track if you pixelize, if you put the right pixels on the advertiser site. And all this, we believe, helps creating an advertising that works, all the more so if you have the right creative. You know, we are in the advertising business. It's about targeting, it's about analyzing, but it's also about showcasing your brands in the right way. And what is the thinking behind it? So that's kind of the second big thing we have in mind. The third thing is that, unfortunately, advertising online is not that simple. You know, you can track many, many things, you can invent lots of metrics, but at the end of the day, what really works? There's no such thing as a binary metric of online effectiveness. We do believe that things are a bit more complicated and that we need to tell this truth to agencies who know it perfectly and to advertisers. So what we believe very strongly is that we live in a world of multiple touch points. It's not only the last click, the first click, we can invent many, many things, but advertising effectiveness is about having the right mix of touch points in order to go from awareness to some kind of conversion. Finally, we can only stress again the importance of building brands online, because if people care about what you have to say, if people care about your brand, then they will somehow come to your site and do something. And it's particularly important in the e-commerce category, where differentiation will be important at some point.
We see 3 gentlemen trying to explain that we have to attract the audience. A long talk about Philippe. Then Pascarl is saying we need to give them a feeling like when they search. And Philippe is saying, well, it all matters about they're buying. The click when they sell, they buy something. That's important, and that's where we measure how effective we can be. Now, on the other hand, Rajeev is smiling, he's sitting down, he's saying, let them talk, because PubMatic is happy with the three of them. And I don't know how you position yourself with regards to these three gentlemen, but you have the 4 minutes for you, so try to be clear.
Great. Good afternoon, Rajeev Goel, CEO of PubMatic. So, we work in a very unique space here. We work on behalf of publishers, and we help them maximize the value of their unsold ad inventory and protect and manage their brands online. So we work with leading publishers such as Huffington Post, Amazon, TV Guide, MSNBC, and we take the 60-70% of the ad inventory that they cannot sell. And we work with all of these gentlemen here and several hundred other demand-side platforms, ad networks, exchanges, across roughly 400 million unique users on a monthly basis to maximize the value of that inventory. And so I'm reminded of an American adage which says, one man's trash is another man's treasure. I think that's very apt in this setting, because what we see is that based on various targeting criteria, based on the needs of the marketer, based on the various technologies and disciplines that all of these other panelists here bring, they may value a given ad impression or a given user at $6, and another one may value that same person knowing a different set of facts at 60 cents. Right? And so that, I think, is one of the fundamental challenges that the publisher faces, is around how do they find those opportunities so they can maximize the value of that inventory.
Now, let's challenge the man, because I brought with me two friends. We have Bob and we have Ralph. Ralph works in a media agency. Bob is an advertiser. They would like to spend money online. They would like to buy inventory. Now, who do they buy? All of them or not? Do you buy, is it N? You say you have to buy Zanox, you have to buy specific, you have to buy Criteo, or you just go to Rajeev? Interesting question for you, because we need to guide them a little bit and at least know, is it and, is it or? We heard somebody saying, I think it was you talking about a mix. Means there is a mix within performance that you have to calibrate to be the most performance. And then you're telling us that we should only buy unsold. Means that they have to buy some other inventory directly from the publishers. I don't know, I'm a bit lost, and I guess Bob and Ralph as well. So come up with the answers. I don't know, who want to answer on this? Philippe?
So, both of you, I would say, reframe the question a little bit, because what you're spending on a network like Zanox is actually probably not from your marketing budget in the traditional way. It's probably part of your sales expense, because you know every time that you make a sale that it's going to come out of the margin of that particular sale. So most of the clients that we work with actually don't have a fixed budget. They determine upfront, we're willing to pay 5% of every shopping basket, or 10% of every shopping basket, or 10 euros for a new client, or 30 euros for a subscription of a mobile phone contract. And once they know that, they're very happy to scale. So usually the budget is not going to be fixed, or it's not going to be a budget out of the regular marketing spend anyhow. It's going to be a sales expense. And I would say the smartest companies have understood logic and have moved away from upfront planning at the beginning of the year of saying we want to spend 100,000 euros over here, to saying for every sale we can afford to spend X on the performance component. Now that still leaves you probably with a marketing spend on the branding and the awareness, etc. component, but then that's a different story. That's the more traditional planning approach. So I would say, working with a company like ours, it's more about really figuring out the economics of what can you afford to spend per transaction, and then that's setting the price within the marketplace for publishers to then drive traffic to your website.
Okay, so you're more addressed to the sales, means you're still dealing with the marketing guys, the advertising guys and their budget, or do you say, no, we're also playing the same ground field?
I think we need to acknowledge that Alain and Raph are under tremendous pressure from their bosses or their shareholders or whomever. So they have the pressure of the metrics, and they have the pressure of the attribution debate. You know, when we talk about performance, and as you say, we need to reframe the concept a little bit, but I think performance is simple, and performance is the consequence. The difficulty is how do you measure it, and how do you find the right set of measures to attribute conversions, actions to one or another, etc., etc. And that's the difficulty. And I think we're all a bit schizophrenic in this world, because on the one hand, I think we can use your cool tool for that, but I think not many of us have clicked on a banner and buy something in the same session. It's not really something we do. Do you do that very often, Alain? I'm not sure. And on the other hand, it's still something that Raf and are tracking very closely. So what I'm trying to say here is we have this issue of conversion attribution on the online world, and to be honest, we have not solved it completely. So some people will have the temptation to have a first layer of ad spend, which is just about direct post-click effectiveness, because somehow it's easy to establish, easy to prove. And the more sophisticated they get, the more they try to find other ways to allocate their ad spend, just because they know that the truth lies in these multiple touch points and these more complex issues. So we believe that online advertising, we can call it performance, but you know, it's not so different from anything else. Online advertising is almost as complex as other forms of advertising, and we should not expect that there is just one metric that can show the light, and basically it's post-click, it's sponsor link, a banner, and that's enough. And if you do that, at the end of the day, probably your brand is no different from your competitor, and you have real trouble finding new customers.
So there's not like one answer, like in traditional media we were spending 70% on TV and 30% on other media, for instance, in some countries and for some companies. That's not the answer you would give in online. It's more complex than that.
And the answer is probably that you need to choose different channels, and I'm not saying that we are that, you know, controversial between one another, but you need to make certain choices and then optimize within these choices. But I firmly reject the notion of one metric fits all. I think it's an oversimplification, and it's not telling the truth to the people in this room who know it perfectly. And once again, how many of us have clicked on the banner and bought something?
What do you think?
So I think that we get a lot of people to click on banners.
And buy something in the same session.
And buy something in the same session. And Booking.com can tell you about it.
You know about it.
To me, performance is like the stock market. And you're in, just like if your company is public, you have the same problem, which is you can run your company making short-term decisions because you need the cash to come in, you need the sales to come in, because that's what the market is expecting from you. And you've got quarterly results to provide. And so, in a sense, you have no choice. And in order to drive sales effectively onto your website, you need Zanox, you need Criteo, and I would say you need both actually, so you should use Zanox and Criteo, because that's what's going to drive your short-term sales. But like as if your company is on the stock market, you still have you have to build a company also for the long term, which is always a trade-off that is very difficult to make, because short-term is always more urgent. And to build a company for the long term, then I agree with Philippe, and you probably need more Philippe here, which is you need to build an image, you need to build your branding experience. And it is true that nobody ever bought a car because you saw one day a banner that you clicked on, but because you saw a big ad one day and there was a lot of emotion in the car, and that's what's going to drive you long-term purchase. I think that's, so to me, the question around value attribution is, you can think about it in two ways. There is the short-term value attribution. You've got all these clicks, all these users that are coming to your website, and how you distribute the value to create your short-term value. And then there is a much longer value attribution. So what is it that you're doing online today that is overall beneficial to your brand, and that's going to help you build an amazing brand and an amazing company in the future? There are many answers to that. I would only point out the fact that some of the biggest internet companies were built mainly on pure performance. I don't know how many Amazon ads you've seen on TV or even Amazon banners. I haven't seen much personally, and I've been working on the internet for a long time. And Amazon grew mostly because they did search, they did affiliation, they did everything, they did CPC, post-click, etc. So the stuff that I'm describing. Could they have done better if they went big on TV, etc.? Probably, but the problem is their bottom end result is not that great. So they can only afford probably to do what they did. Booking.com is yet another great example. It's the first hotel reseller in Europe. They built a multi-billion-dollar business mainly doing performance. You've never seen them on TV, and I don't think they got a big TV campaign that is planned in the next year to come. And he's saying no, so I'm pretty sure what I'm saying. So now it doesn't mean that obviously you can use everything that you have online, but this is the short-term versus long-term decision. And there are clearly tools online that will be driving your sales tomorrow. So if you plug Zanox tomorrow, your sales will grow and you will see it with the naked eye. It's not a question of whether it works or not, it works. If you plug Google tomorrow, you'll see work with a naked eye. If you plug Criteo tomorrow, you will see also an uplift in your sales with your naked eye. And if you don't believe us, you switch off Criteo and you see what happens. And usually, you'll switch us back on very quickly, because just like Zanox, you will lose sales. So the relation between click to sell and the impact onto your website is very clear. Is it your best strategy overall? If I take Booking and Amazon, they won not just because they were doing pure performance marketing. They won also because they have the best service online. I shop at Amazon because they are the best website to shop on. I shop at Booking because it's my client, and also because they have the best site. So I would say your marketing is not the answer to all of your problems. I mean, service always comes first online. But if you get a good service, I say that performance marketing post-click is highly powerful and will drive your everyday sales. But yet you need to build also your experience in your brand, and I think that it's for you to figure out how you're going to measure that. Because the challenge is one thing you can measure with cookies, you get attribution, it's complex, but in the end you have tools that exist. But to measure the impact of your campaign that you do today when you're selling cars in the next 6 months is super difficult. I mean, it's very hard to do it. And then also you're competing against TV, and so quite frankly, if I was in your shoes, to build a TV spot and to run it on the biggest network in France, or to do a big internet campaign to build my brand, I'm not sure what I would do.
It's very interesting to see that the strategies are kind of changing, especially the media agencies try to implement different attribution models like modeling exposure to conversion and this type of thing to try to neutralize a little bit the impact of retargeting. Because one of the key changes in the performance business over the recent years is the very strong growth of retargeting, which is kind of the most it's the climax of targeting somehow, because you retarget the people who've been on the website with some ambivalence in it, because on the one hand it's very logical, on the other hand most of the work has been done by the advertiser himself. So everybody agrees that, like all the e-commerce, particularly players, do agree that a retargeting exposure is much more likely to generate a click, which is much more likely to be correlated to a sale. But the question is not so much how you attribute things, but is the weighted cost of the different things. And perhaps the real question is, what is the real cost of, and the real value of the retargeting part of a marketing strategy? And I would be very pedantic to say I have the answer, but I think it's something we need to look at, because when you bringing a customer onto your website is a complex process. It's something that takes time, that takes brand equity, that takes quality of service, as you said, and then retargeting this person is something that is really at the bottom of the funnel. So
I'm curious to see in the audience if it's clear for you, but maybe before interacting to some questions of you related to the different disciplines within performance, there's something to add, Rajeev?
Yeah, so going back to Philipp from Zanox's point, there are these different budgets, right? So he's clearly going after the sales budget. I suspect, Philipp, you go after some sales and marketing. Pascarl, I don't know where you fall, probably sales predominantly. And I think the smart marketers are building a portfolio approach and investing different money behind different objectives, behind different metrics. You mentioned some of the world's largest online retailers, predominantly performance. I actually think one of the largest retailers online. I can't ever think of a single performance ad that I've seen through, and that's Apple. So if you think about an Apple ad, there's no click here, there's no 1-800 number. It's purely a brand experience in terms of Apple's advertising. So I think where all of this gets really interesting is when we start to see more and more of the brand dollars flow online. Predominantly today, I would say online advertising, at least in the US, is 60, 65, maybe even a little bit more percentage is performance and very little on the brand side.
Some questions from you? To the guys here? Is it clear? Imagine you're all looking for performance. You know where you would go? Into search, into retargeting, targeting, into affiliate, email, whatever, social. Is it clear for you? Some questions to the gentleman? Maybe we can ask one question with the poll. We can do the poll now, one of the voting questions. Is that possible? Yeah? The first one, you will all need to use these beautiful machines in front of you or under you. And the questions would be, which performance marketing discipline will bring the best results in 2012? So imagine yourself, you're up to buying performance marketing, and which one of these 6 different would you or do you think will bring the best performance? The way to do it is you press your answer and then you have to send it. Not just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or 6, but one number and then send it. And we're going to get the results normally immediately after you've been sending.
Do you actually think that all 6 even are performance marketing disciplines?
Well, that's another good question. What would you argue? What do you say?
I'm not so sure. I think they're all online advertising disciplines as we discussed, but even asking the question if you're asking the question which online advertising discipline will you use, that's a different question than assuming that they're all performance.
Okay. So up to you again. We expect your answer being processed, I guess.
We don't vote.
No, you don't vote. Of course. We will see if you were very convincing to them.
I agree with Philippe, and I think that one of the problems that we have online is a semantic problem.
Yeah.
Everyone calls performance everything, and I'm seeing also many pitches from various vendors, and everything is performance. I will deliver performance, and we don't really know what that means. So typically in display, there are various ways of setting performance. You could, first of all, CPC, CPM, CPA, so anyway. And the way that you can define CPA will be CPA plus click. So I agree that if the conversion is coming from the click, I will attribute that to the vendor whose the click is coming from. And then to Philippe, what Philippe was saying, there is the post view. And I will attribute also, because I'm thinking, and I think that's true, that because I'm displaying an ad, there is the action that the user is going to do on the banner, and the action that he's not going to do, but it doesn't mean that he hasn't seen the banner and that the banner hasn't influenced his behavior, or will not influence his behavior later on. And I think that now all the techniques that I see online, whether it's deduplication, attribution, whether it's CPA post click post view, performance is always being judged in the moment. Studies trying to understand the long-term value of whatever people are doing online, it's very hard. We don't see much of them. People are always receptive when they see them anyway. Whether it comes from Nielsen or Comscore, that are very reputable companies, every time you display a study that says, oh, but the increase is 1,500% on brand perception, etc., everyone goes down, yeah, what's my performance post-click, or what's my performance right now. And I think that we're having maybe probably a strong debate right now, but again, it's like the stock market. What those two guys want to buy is effectiveness right now. And however they buy it, whether it's post-click, post-view, etc., everybody is screaming for what's the impact of my campaign tomorrow morning. And if I don't see an impact, I'm going to call you 3 times a day to understand what's going on. I want to see impact, I want to see volume, I want to see conversions. In my experience, I've never seen anyone coming to me and say, hey, and I think Apple is a great example. I got another one in Europe for ASOS. Those guys don't need marketing. Their brand is so great, their products are so great that it's selling itself, right? So those are very rare exceptions, right?
Do we have the answers already to the questions? Do we have the answers? Here we are. Apparently targeting and retargeting seems to have a quite high score, 41%, followed by search, 98%, and indeed apparently the others one.
Can we do a second question to see between targeting and retargeting?
We can't influence the questions now, we can't change them now. But it's true that to move on into the debate, I'm okay when you say indeed it depends on the client. And I agree, if you're in sales and e-commerce, booking, Amazon, you probably look for this click. We've been talking about the click, so if many of you are looking for a click, it means I'm buying something and your company can sell something online, or you can create traffic offline so that you're really buying something, then you could say performance. It's probably there where you should spend your money, from sales budgets or from marketing budgets. And again, I can follow that. And we've seen that online, we are. It's in 2010 in Europe, 17 billion have been spent in Europe in online. 17. From that 17, it's true that 60% is in, let's say, performance in general. And we know a lot in search. And sometimes people are saying it was because search companies like Google did a great job. Maybe also because of the short-term actions we want. We are in a recession. We have an economical downturn since many years. So probably it's also one thing to explain. But recently they were saying to companies like us, or trade associations, like you should bring more the branding impact in front of advertisers and media agencies, because they should realize that it's not only about the click. It's also about branding, creating awareness. You had a little bit about the awareness side. And that's something that still continues to puzzle me. I think puzzling everybody here as well. I'm a company, I don't have a website online where you can buy something. I'm selling something, a product or a service in the retail store or whatever. I'm maybe a fast-moving consumer goods. That's typically the good example. I'm Procter & Gamble, I'm Nestle, I'm Unilever. I'm eventually looking for a click, eventually, but not that much. I'm more looking for the top of mind, the brand awareness, the good old things where you would say, if I'm a consumer walking on the street, thanks to online marketing and online advertising, I have a top of mind and I will go and buy something. Is that still something where you would say performance has a role to play, or not at all? Or do you do something that you combine with traditional media, with display advertising, with video? What's there the story? Because for them, I guess for many advertisers, we look for simple things. You've all said it's very difficult in online. I'm not sure where we go.
We have a few examples of research we have conducted to try to see the correlation between different things. For instance, between targeted display and search, or between the display and time spent on the website. If we have 3 minutes, okay. If we can go through.
So, a couple of slides. Yeah.
Do I press this? My remote.
You should have it there, the slides. Yep, here we go. Yes.
So, the first one is what we call the latent effect of digital, and so it's maybe it's barely readable, but the point here is to see the correlation